Mutated bats, panthers, lava men.
And Sega goes masterful.
Its legacy is far beyond that of just Japan and the United States.
Plus, monsters destroy the US, and a janitor saves the galaxy. So flap your arms to fly, and buckle up for safety. Strap in for 1986.
A Super Breakout clone, but it adds on to what Super Breakout was able to create, or Breakout for that matter.
Power-ups. That's right. Not only are you just a paddle that's bouncing a ball around to knock out the bricks, but now you're rewarded with different power-ups.
Multi-ball, like in pinball, there was like a sticky pong paddle mode where you could like make the ball stick there and then you could shoot it wherever you wanted to. And there was even a laser one.
Break velocity, split ball, okay, larger ship, alright, that's fine. Oh, gun! Yeah!
One of Arkanoid's claims to fame is the varied layouts of all the stages, different designs, and not just, a layer of horizontal bricks.
You were able to have blocks that required multiple hits, block patterns that created different shapes and different figures.
The layouts were pictures, like there was one that was a Space Invader.
Everyone takes different strategies. Yes, at the end of the day, it's still a Twitch game, but some of the levels you have to be more precise and you really want it to go up top so that you can work your way down.
But one of the things I always found a little weird about it, there's a story to this game.
It's a pong paddle, but they say it's a ship, and you're escaping from the mothership Arkanoid, and your ship is called the Boss. I don't know.
The arcade cabinet had a wonderful weighted spinner, similar to that, but very heavy, smooth, fluid, constant 360-degree motion, which let you move your paddle back and forth with really, nice precision.
How can you not love this game? Seriously, I have tons of memories of playing it in the arcade back when I was a kid.
It's the Valve controller. And on the NES version of Arkanoid, they actually were cool enough to include the spinner controller. And it was the only game that you could use it for, unfortunately, an analog controller on the NES. That's where a lot of people played it too.
Improvement over Breakout. Took them long enough to come out with it, so damn well better be.
Gumshoe is a light gun game that used the Nintendo Zapper, and I love it.
Gumshoe, or when Zapper games go horribly, horribly wrong.
Your main character's name is Mr. Stevenson. And the thing about Mr. Stevenson is because you're not using a controller, he continuously moves to the right, and the jumping can only take place when you shoot him.
Here's the kicker, though. You're defending your Gumshoe by shooting the objects coming at him on the screen.
It actually gets quite challenging. It's really cool because it's unique and a different way to use that NES app.
Hi there. Hello. Listen, we got a serious problem. Is it not the word spicy is very subjective? So whenever you order in a restaurant, you just kind of have to hope that the chef is on the same wavelength as you? No, actually, it's in relation to the sports arena we both work in. Nobody's having a good time during the sports game. Sure they are. Well, the sports are happening. They're all yelling and screaming. I'm surprised it doesn't distract the player. Yeah, but then see, in between plays and during breaks and stuff, they all just sit there in silence, stoically staring.
I think it's
Not
fantastic.
making a sound. It's haunting, right? To be honest, that's true. You can hear a pin drop, and they all look like statues. So
Jackal,
like them
also
to
known
make
as
noise
Top Gunner,
continuously then.
when it was released in North America for the arcades, was another running gun game by Konami.
This is what we need to figure out. I was thinking maybe something with tasers. I don't think we should tase them. They make
Instead of
noise,
being
yeah, but nothing
just the
to
main
make noise,
character
though.
on
Although I
screen,
imagine a couple
shooting
of them
everything
would
from a
be
top-down
into it. Maybe we just
view,
remove any
you're actually playing as a
sports,
chief.
no more
And it's the
timeouts.
Jackal Force, which is a team of 4 soldiers, and you're driving this Jeep around, you're firing at enemies.
What's interesting is that you can spring machine gun.
Oh, you know
The
what?
machine gun will always just
I
shoot
could dress up like an
straight
animal.
ahead, north.
What?
It will
An
change
animal.
direction with you.
I can put an animal costume
The
on.
goal of
Okay,
the
this
game
seems
was
like
to
we're
rescue
trying to start another
POWs and
conversation.
then
Can
bring
we
them
finish
to a
with my
location so
papers?
they
I'm
can be
not
taken by
changing the
helicopter to
subject. I'm
safety.
offering you a
More risky
solution. I
stuff
don't
to
really
get
see the
POWs,
object.
more
This
and more
time
you
I'm
get
afraid
later.
I'm a
It's fun kind of
Why did you
fighting
have
over
that
who's going to
ready
save the
for
prisoners.
You
You
were
know,
just
when you got
waiting
2
for
Jeeps at
any
the same
excuse to
time.
put that on.
I'm going to save those guys. Nope, get out of the way. I'm going to save those guys.
One hit, you're dead, Jackal. And even if you get shot by the cute little guys that you run over, cute little soldiers, you're still dead. So you always have to be careful and on your toes, especially with the boss. You got to follow lots and lots of bullets at you.
Now, eventually this game was ported over to the Nintendo Entertainment System when they switched the name back to Jackal.
Jackal's great. Fun arcade, really popular on the NES.
Definitely a fun game.
definitely worth checking.
You're not? Why would I talk? Why would I talk?
Sega
Animals don't
you
talk.
with the
That would
ultimate
completely break the
video game.
illusion. So you think people will
Sega
think you're a
Master
real cow if you don't speak? Obviously, they
With more
wouldn't think
accurate
that. Why
control,
wouldn't you talk?
multi-tail
Because
graphics,
nobody
more
wants to
levels
hear
of
what
play.
the dancing cow
The
has
Sega
to say.
Master
They just
System
want to
comes
see
with
him
power-based
dance. Why would
control
dancing
pads,
be
like
okay but not
reduce
talking?
great video
Look, I don't
games.
make the
Hang
rules.
on, it's a
Whatever I do, this has
and
never
other
been done
games like
before. I'll tell you what I will do.
Shoplifter,
If
the
something
excitement
silly, I'll
never
do one of
stops.
these.
The Sega Master
How will this
System.
get people to cheer? Okay, look at me do this move, okay? And tell me people
Sega
will
released
cheer
the
for that.
Sega
All right,
Master
man,
System
look,
in
I'm
the
gonna be
US, but
honest,
it was known as the
yeah, that
Sega
was
Mark
pretty good,
III in
right?
Japan.
Also, I think I should
Mark
probably
III
get a
was the
projectile
third
launcher. What, like a
pretty
gun?
quick
No,
attempt
like a
by
big
Sega
cannon
to
that
create a
launches
home
T-shirts.
successful
A
console.
T-shirt
The
cannon.
Sega
Yeah, I
Master
think
System,
people
we
would
really
enjoy
get
getting
kind of
shot
like
at
the
if the
first
projectiles were
competition
merchandise.
in
Oh,
these
that's a
new
good point. Maybe we
generation
could
of
throw
home
some other
console
merch in
wars.
the cannon too.
And
Maybe
you know
some
what?
mugs
It's a
and pens
fantastic
and
little system that
ashtrays.
never really
Yeah,
got
or
its
maybe
due.
just stick
I
to the
gotta
soft stuff.
imagine
All right,
that
so
only the weird
all right,
kids
man.
have
You
this.
really think this
You know,
is
these are
gonna
the
work?
kind
Yeah,
of
I
weird
think what
kids
would
that would
really
have a
get this crowd
TurboGrafx
going is a
16 in the early
deeply
90s,
sweaty
right?
man
The
in an
reason I
oversized
chose the
costume.
Sega
I
Master
guess it's
System
worth
over
a
the
try. Plus, the
Nintendo
little
was because
children
I
can
really,
come with you. I can take photos
really
with the
liked the
little
Sega
children.
games
I don't
in the
think parents
arcades.
are going to be
There's
okay
ones
with
like
their kids
Outrun
approaching a
come out on
strange
this.
man in an animal
You
costume.
have
Somehow I
Fantasy
think they
Zone,
will
you
be.
have
You should
Shinobi's
check
on
with an
here.
actual child.
This
I wouldn't
made
want
the
to
Sega Master
inadvertently
System
terrify them. You know? Okay,
essentially
let me just get
arcade
ready. Hey,
system.
little
The
child,
control
excuse me.
pads
Oh,
kind of
hello,
suck,
where are your
though.
parents?
Yeah, they were a
little
little
guy?
lacking with that
Chipper?
remote control,
Yeah.
cord coming out the side.
I don't know what
it
he
came out
meant
the
by
side.
that.
They did
Anyway,
change
look
it
at
so
this
it comes
cow
out the
thing. Is
top
that
of the
fun
later.
for you? Do
They
you
did.
like looking at that?
Pawns.
Yeah,
On
what
the
scene
controller.
that make
There's
you
no
want
start
to
button.
do?
What's the
Makes
next
you
button on
want to
the
give him a
controller?
big hug.
Here,
You
go
know,
to the
so
system.
hit him in
You hit the
balls.
pause
Yeah,
button
go
on it.
ahead. What? No,
From a
no,
technical
before
standpoint, the
this.
Master System was
That's not a
superior
red
to the
cow. What are you
NES.
doing?
It do a lot
Okay,
of
how about
things
this
that the
even
NES
better
had to
idea?
have
We get some
special
women in
chips
here,
inside
right?
the cartridge
And
to
do
do.
really, really
They
cool
had
choreography,
3D
some
glasses.
popular music.
And
That'll
you know
get
what?
people
It
cheering.
worked. Let's face it,
Yeah,
pretty
that
much
too, but also
all
this
Master
costume
System
thing. Here we
box
go.
art is
Oh,
crap. My favorite is pro wrestling, with a wrestler holding his whole own head in his arms. It doesn't make any sense. It's funny. You look at the NES games; it's very visual, and it tells you what's happening in that game. With no possible way of knowing what the game's about. What? Stop damaging my games. The packing game for the Master System, when it first was released in 1986, was actually, a twofer. It was Hang On and Safari Hunt. Safari Hunt, which, while not as good as Duck Hunt, you got to chose to use the phaser. Safari Hunt is so much better than Duck Hunt. Way better.
Safari Hunt was a light gun game that used Sonic's light phaser to shoot animals.
Who doesn't like shooting monkeys with a gun?
I like it.
I like this better than the NES Zapper. There was a built-in game on a lot of Master Systems. It's called Snail Maze. Some people just call it the Snail Game, but it's called Snail Maze. And basically, I think you hold up on the controller and press buttons 1 and 2 in the BIOS screen, and a little snail maze comes in.
Snail Maze is exactly what it sounds like. It's a timed maze game where you move a snail through the maze.
The unfortunate part about the Sega Master System, though, is because Nintendo had an illegal stranglehold on third-party publishers, most of the games in the U.S., all 114 of them, were just Sega first-party games and, arcade ports.
Sega only managed to get 2 third-party developers, Activision and Parker Brothers.
Unfortunately, you didn't have like a Mega Man game coming out on the Master System in the U.S. You didn't have games like Ninja Gaiden. So that's what really hurt the Master System, which is a shame because this is a fun little console.
The Master System, its legacy is far beyond that of just Japan and the United States.
In Europe, it was huge and bigger than the NES, and in South America, particularly Brazil, it was enormous.
They reminisce on the Sega Master System, much like that of how we reminisce of in the United States on the NES. That's respectable. Come on. It's a moment in time for Sega and a moment in time for the video gaming world in the late 80s that you got to see this difference in styles, but also a progression of where gaming was going.
And now, it should have been a video game in 1986.
Oh, hello, I'm Eric, and here's the stuff from 1986 that should have been made into a video game, but wasn't. In movies, Top Gun for the Sega Master System. Not the silly F-14 Tomcat fighter game, but playing with the boys. Volleyball. No flying, boring jets around, it's all about the volleyball. And bodies working overtime. Ferris Bueller's Day Off for the NES. Race through your neighbor's yards, jump over fences, and avoid obstacles while racing to beat your parents home without getting caught. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while. You could miss it. Bom, bom. Oh, yeah. In music, you gotta fight for your right to party by the Beastie Boys. In this NES beat 'em up, you take on the man as they try to make you go to school, take away your smokes, your best porno mag, make you change your clothes and cut your hair. You gotta fight for your right to party. Perfect Strangers for the Sega Master System. In this series of minigames, Balki Bartokamos and Larry Appleton perform duties for Ritz discount shop owner, Mr. Twinkassetti, try to pick up women at a singles bar, and get Balki his driver's license. But would it be fun? Of course not, don't be ridiculous. And that's what should have been a video game in 1986. And I want to play them.
You want ads that drive for
M2 and Yu Suzuki released Outrun in 1986.
Yu Suzuki's like a 3 for 3 right now.
There were 4 cabinet types that included a steering wheel with force feedback, which was awesome, a stick shift, and acceleration and brake pedals, like a car.
So if you were turning a corner too fast, you would feel it move. You would feel as if, you were actually driving a vehicle, even though you were, looking at it from behind. So this kind of force feedback became standard in later Sega games like Daytona USA, and as racing games continued to evolve, this was a necessary feature to give the player the immersive experience.
Even the stand-up version where it had the hills, and it would actually make me feel like I was going up and down those hills. It was cool.
So you had a lot of different scenery. You had deserts. You had towns you passed through. It was just really fun.
Yu Suzuki has said that Outrun is not a racing game, it's a driving game. You're not really racing against cars, you're racing against time. And cars are just obstacles getting in your way.
Amazing music by Hiroshi Kawaguchi. You could select on your dash which track that you wanted to hear as you're playing.
And my favorite is always Passing Breeze. And I just like the...
And what was cool about this, as opposed to other racing games, was that at certain points in a level, you were able to choose a left or right within a fork in a road. The left usually took you down an easier path, while the right took you down a more challenging route.
I really liked always turning left at the first intersection when the road splits, so you can see those pillars. You go under those pillars.
Yeah.
It's like, why did they build these things here? And I don't
And
care,
so
but
many of them.
it looks cool.
You get extra time by going through checkpoints, and the game ends when you either run out of time or make it through the race.
Every time you crash, you think you would have been killed, thrown from your vehicle. It's just that your blonde girlfriend gives you a little waggy finger like, how dare you break my neck and,
Come on, you're in a convertible, you got a blonde girl next to you, you get to choose what you're listening to on the radio before you even start. This is if there's such a thing as a relaxing racing game, this is it. Or at least it's a dang cool one.
It's Sega at the height of doing what they did best in the 80s, which was creating these really immersive arcade experiences, and I think Outrun is probably among the top.
Alex Kidd was an 8-bit platformer that was their answer to Super Mario Brothers.
It's a fine platform for what it is. What was interesting to me about Alex Kidd, though, is that you're not hopping on enemies. They wanted to go a little bit different route. You just punch them with your big old monkey child fist. Alex Kidd in Miracle World.
I had some control issues. I had a hard time controlling Alex.
Yeah, he's kind of slippery, and in the original version, the 1-button jump and the 2-button punch, which is totally opposite of what we're used to with Mario.
I think Alex Kidd is actually an interesting game where you play John Kimpom, which is paper, rock, scissors with a boss. You fight him with paper, rock, scissors. Now that's how you resolve conflict.
Which is incredibly strange and weird. That you go from a mechanic of platforming and using hand-eye coordination throughout the game to all of a sudden, now it's pure dumb luck and chance at the boss.
Unless you memorize the patterns, which is what you're supposed to do. How a 14-year-old kid such as myself could do that, I do not know. But there you go.
That is actually my biggest problem with Alex Kidd. On its own, it stands as a great platformer, but the rock, paper, scissors boss battles just totally ruin the flow of the entire game.
Alex Kidd in Miracle World. It
belongs in a little house out back, the lost misfits of video game mascots. Yeah, that's where Alex Kidd belongs.
The Play Choice 10 was really cool. Essentially, this was an arcade cabinet that would house up to 10 different games from the Nintendo Entertainment System.
In order to help, permeate not only home game players, but also kind of give people a taste of what the NES had to offer. Nintendo did the ingenious thing of releasing the PlayChoice 10 in arcades in 1986.
You'd think it was just like an NES in there with, or something akin to that, and they just put like 10 different cartridges in. You'd think it'd be simple as that, right?
Nope. Instead, they were actually on cards that were plugged into the machine on the inside. And so it could have anywhere from just one game all the way up to 10 games.
The unit had an extra CPU that controlled the gameplay timer and switched games, and it also had a separate monitor that would show you hints for each game.
It wasn't like a standard arcade game where you would put in your quarter and you would play until you ran out of lives. Instead, a quarter actually bought you a certain amount of time on the machine. So you could actually cycle through a couple different games if you wanted to within that time allotment.
I believe a total of about 54 games in various formations within the 10 allotted spaces were available to play in arcades.
The cool thing about this is that Nintendo would like let people know this game is coming out for the console. And so you walk into arcade, they would just put in a new ROM board with a new game out of the 10 slots. And on the top of the arcade machine, they'd screw in something like this. It'd say, new game, Ninja Gaiden. So it would invite you to go try out the game.
If you were new to the NES, this was a way to get your feet wet with it. And if you had an NES, you were able to play some games that you could basically test out and decide whether or not you wanted to get.
You can, for a couple of quarters, run through a bunch of games before you go to a store and make a decision, allowing you a lot more information that most people would usually get at that time. Most people were still going off of screenshots and articles and company publications, and this actually gave you the chance to put your hands on it.
So Starflight was this open-ended game.
The game is set in the year 4620, and you are the captain of a ship on a mission to seek out new life and new civilizations, and it's basically straight from Star Trek. It really is.
The game is like an early sandbox game. You can roam freely throughout space.
You start off with a ship, and you pick your crew, and there's different races and aliens, and you can assign them to different posts.
So you are a starship captain, and there's kind of an overall overarching plot, but really you can do whatever you want.
The world is massive. There's, I think, 800 planets that you can visit in something like 270 galaxies.
You can go to all the star systems, you can land on all the planets, but if any of the planets have less than 8 Gs of gravity, destroys your ship. But you can still do that if you want. It's a sandbox game, you can do what you want.
You do mining, you collect artifacts, you collect life forms.
You had to find planets for people to, inhabit because, there's overcrowding on the home planet. You had to create treaties with the other aliens nearby or choose to wipe them out in combat.
It really replicated the idea of space travel while also involving a plot that would reveal itself to you as you made choices that made that come to you. And because of this, it's recognized as being such a influential game in the PC world.
And now the gaming innovation of 1986.
Hello! Welcome to the gaming innovation of 1986. What new technology graced the world and changed the face of gaming forever? The Save feature was introduced with The Legend of Zelda and the Famicom Disk System in Japan. For the first time, players could save their game on a piece of the floppy disk that was kept just for that purpose. And when the game was ported worldwide the following year, in cartridge form, a battery backup made sure that players never had to worry about a pesky password system. That does it for the gaming innovation of 1986. I'll see you next year, and don't forget, it's not just nostalgia, it's science. Oh, Mario, you Italian stallion. Oh, yeah.
Atari just reinvented the video game with this, the Atari 7800. Incredible, huh? So powerful it plays like the best arcade game with real joysticks, right? So advanced to play super games, computer games no other video game system ever played. Just look at these. It even plays all Atari 2600 games. Great, huh? Hey. Oh, the new Atari 7800. We reinvented the video game.
sure.
In 1984, Atari had just been sold, and they put the Atari 7800 on the shelf.
The Atari got sold to Jack Tramiel, who basically took a look at everything going on and the money it was hemorrhaging as a company and said, whoa, 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 hold on. Maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe in the midst of this giant crash that's going on in the industry, we shouldn't just throw good money after bad again and release this console.
So the 5200 came out probably a couple years after it should have, and this came out probably 3 years after it really should have to really compete. If this came out in 82 instead of the 5200, this would have dominated.
Right.
But the fact is, by the time it's came out in 86, no one cares anymore.
The NES, which was test marketed in 85, fully released in 86, doing much, bringing life into the industry, the Master System coming up. Atari's thinking, hey, we got something in our back pocket. Bloop, there you go. Now buy our games.
And they put it out with one game, the Pac-Man game, Pole Position 2. It wasn't until 1987 that they really tried to push the system. Here's the problem. This was meant to compete with the NES. It doesn't look a whole lot better than an Atari 5200.
The selling point for the 7800 was high-quality arcade games. And they weren't bad, but the NES was doing it better.
While it had a large color palette of, I think, 256 colors, it really lacked in the sound department. And that's where a lot of the criticism came.
I do want to give the 7800 credit for one thing. It is a fantastic joystick.
This is nice.
Yeah, the 7800 joystick is just awesome.
Oh, did they learn their lesson from the 5200? Oh, yes, they did.
Solid, sturdy, good joystick, buttons for lefties and righties.
Well, your left hand's always control. That's always control. And you got this, like, weird kind of side buttons going on. So I, like, as a child, my hands were much smaller then, so, like, it was probably even then, like, harder to get my, like, fingers wrapped around the side buttons and actually get them pressed. Oh, that was stupid.
It also featured backwards compatibility with the entire Atari 2600 library.
There were only 59 licensed games released for the 7800, and many of them were just rehashes.
And that's the problem with the 7800, is that there's only like 50 plus games on the system, and most are just ports from the arcade that you could have played on the 5200 or on the 2600. So I don't know who this system was for by the time it came out.
So the Atari 7800 was actually the first video game system released by Atari that was not designed by Atari. It was designed by an outside firm, the General Computer Corporation.
GCC, the company that created the 7800, had not been paid by Jack Tramiel. He thought that it was basically part of the acquisition when he bought it. That was the deal.
You had a system that was already designed, and it comes out, and it's 2 years behind the curve already, because it was designed to be released in '84. I can see why Atari wanted to hurry up, quick, get back in the market while the getting's good, but stuff like that doesn't help the cause. I love Rampage. Rampage is a fun game.
The title speaks for itself. You just go on a rampage. You destroy everything.
So the game essentially takes the idea of the giant kaiju monsters wreaking havoc on a city.
The three monsters include George of the jungle, who's obviously King Kong. There's a lizard, Lizzie the lizard, which is Godzilla. And then you've got Ralph, who's an old big werewolf. I don't know why.
You go on a countrywide tour, destroying the crap out of cities.
You climb a series of buildings. The goal is to level all the buildings by either, just destroying them, punching through the walls.
How do you regain your life? You eat people.
You eat people.
Like any monster would.
When you break into the buildings, there were helpful items and there were hurtful items. Like, helpful items would be food and money. Hurtful items would be electrical appliances and actually cigarettes. There's like a message there for the kiddies.
What was neat, though, is that there's little tiny things like a toaster, where if you ate the toaster, you would lose health, but if you wait a split second and the bread pops up, you gain health.
There's actually some really funny stuff in the game, like you hit something electrical and your guy gets zapped, you can see a skeleton, or you eat something you weren't supposed to and you blow fire, or there's like a guy in the shower and he hits you with the shower nozzle and blows you off the building.
The great thing was this was 3-player simultaneous in the arcades. You not only were working cooperatively, but you could beat up other players to gain, if you wanted to eat the people that they were standing near.
There's something so incredibly satisfying about scaling those buildings and just punching holes in the windows and reaching back and punching holes in the building behind you.
It's a lot of fun for a little while. It made a great arcade game. I've never enjoyed any of the home ports. The Nintendo home port was one of the most boring experiences of my life.
It's very mindless fun, but it's fun.
Gunship is an AH-64 Apache helicopter combat flight simulator game. Another one?
You look at this game and it's, first thing that hits me is, hey, this is Microsoft Flight Simulator with guns.
So in Gunship, you take control of an Apache helicopter, and you go flying around, you're shooting ground targets, air targets with your machine guns and missiles and whatnot. And again, it was just one of those Microprose games that really got it right.
And Sid Meier was one of the programmers on it. Building up that resume, Sid, till you make your own biggies.
You would create your character and you could gain rank upgrades and all the medals.
Medals could be awarded after a pilot had died, just like in real life.
There were achievements and perks, little things to unlock that you can get by completing certain objectives.
It's a solid entry into that simulator genre, you know, whether it's flight simulator or combat simulator, medieval strategy simulator, or whatever, you know, that you would find on PCs such as combat simulator, medieval strategy simulator, or whatever, you know, that you would find on PCs such as
How do I play a video game that makes you feel really horrible about yourself? Try Chiller by Exidy.
Chiller puts you in control of a light gun in a gallery shooting kind of game. Almost like early carnival games where you're shooting ducks, except instead of ducks, it's innocent humans being held in a torture chamber where you had to use your light gun to execute them.
Every level is sort of like a dungeon or a scene out of a horror movie, and you've just got all these helpless people that are strung up or trapped in these crazy devices.
Now the story is that you have to escape this torturous castle. That's understandable. That sounds fine. I don't understand how escaping a castle constitutes murdering and torturing people.
The real challenge to the game is utilizing the gun to trigger the different torture devices and traps to murder people as fast as possible.
Almost like a mousetrap setting where you trigger off one thing and then, oh, someone gets lowered to their death. Oh, good. Good job. Good job.
You're blasting their faces off. You're activating guillotines and having their heads get chopped off. It's insane. People are on the rack, and you're shooting the rack, and their body parts are separated.
That's pretty much the game in a nutshell. That's the game.
Needless to say, Exidy did not find a success in Chiller in the United States, but they did actually have some more success in porting it over to some third world countries and other locations.
This game had blood and torture, and then it was on NES, and well, the NES version's something else. It sucked.
There was an unlicensed port to the NES by American Game Cartridges where they really toned it down. They said that these aren't people, these are monsters, so it's okay.
What were they thinking? This is not a good idea. It's like the tradition of Death Race and Halloween on the 2600. We'll just come out with the most disgusting, horrific game we possibly can. It's Hostile. Wasn't it in the arcades?
Made by Exidy as well.
What's up with Exidy?
It was.
Can you make something cute?
It's a terrible game. It's awful. Awful. It's a bad game. Don't play that game.
And now the other arcade games of 1986.
Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and these are the other arcade games of 1986. Rygar. Battle through hostile landscapes as the legendary hero, using only your weapon, the disc armor. Renegade. One of the most influential games in the beat-em-up genre. 4-directional controls with punch, jump, kick action? Nice. Solomon's Key. A very challenging puzzle game where you control the wizard Dana to overcome enemies that are respawning forever, challenging level designs, and one-touch instant deaths. Eek. So there you go, guys. There are the other arcade games of 1986. Hey, Just because they may not have been as popular as some of the others, doesn't mean they're not fun. Until next time.
So Tecmo released Mighty Bomb Jack, which is the sequel to Bomb Jack, which no one has ever played.
In Tecmo's Mighty Bomb Jack, Jack has to get through 16 levels of the pyramid, beat the demon Belzebub, and rescue the royal Pamara family. Pamara family or something.
There's coins that you collect, and depending on the color of the coin that you collect, that lets you open certain chests or all chests, and these things give you more time.
If you reached 9 coins or 99 on your timer, you would automatically be placed in a torture room.
The torture room is a very tricky room full of a bunch of jumps, and if you don't make every jump perfectly, you lose a life. So if you make every jump perfectly, you get out of the torture room with your life. However, all your power-ups are removed, and it resets your timer back to 60 seconds.
How do you like that, player? What do you think you're doing? No. Lose.
It's a little difficult to control until you get used to the buttons, but if you push the jump button, he'll jump a little bit, or if you hold it down, he'll jump really high, like not like Mario, really high. And if you hold it, then he'll kind of float, like Princess from Super Mario Bros. Oh, we're not talking about that yet.
I think you look great. You're dapper in your hood and cape. But you can't fly, though. You just jump a lot. So I'm not sure what the cape's for.
This is about fashion.
I think it should be.
Fantasy Zone is another cute-em-up, like Twinbee, but you can move in both directions. You can scroll right, you can scroll left.
Where you control a cute little spaceship named Opa Opa.
It was essentially the first mascot Sega ever had.
And these worlds are insanely bright and colorful. I think that's the appeal of Fantasy Zone. Everything is very, very trippy.
And its unique pastel color palette and side-scrolling shooting, it was a very Japanese-style game.
What made Fantasy Zone a little bit more unique for the time was the freedom with which you can move around your level, similar to something like Defender.
I like it better than Defender myself. I do like Defender, but I like shooting the little bases.
Not only can you fly, you can also walk on the ground because your ship has legs. It's adorable.
And what about the patterns of those enemies? Oh my god.
What patterns? They're just totally random.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Just a really imaginative, clever game, and something that helped the early Master System library stand out from the early NES library.
Well, Nintendo always had Mario and Donkey Kong. You had Alex Kidd and Opa Opa.
Singing.
No. Legendary Wings by Capcom had a really unique setting.
Your characters are basically mythological angels with, and with that fire lasers.
Angels on a mission.
Angels on a mission.
Legendary Wings is set in the distant future where an alien supercomputer named Dark helped them and then turned against them. His name is Dark. Of course he's going to turn against you. You didn't see that coming.
Legendary Wings was a vertically scrolling shooter for part of it, and then it would transition to a side-scroller with platforming kind of elements.
This is really kind of where video game developers started to get clever and creative with how they put their worlds together.
Legendary Wings would go on to be ported to the NES, and it would find greater success there. And it was just a unique game that had some elements that you never saw before.
We're no longer dealing with spaceships and race cars in everything. We've got mythological creatures and things like that, and I don't know, it just made going to the arcade more exciting, to see something new.
Hey kids, do you like gang violence in the street? Urban Champion.
Urban Champion is a two-player fighting game inspired by the 1984 Game & Watch title Boxing, also known as Punch-Out.
The whole goal is to make your opponent fall into an open sewer manhole. This is not good. This is not a good game. It's not a good game.
Fighting games didn't work so well on the NES. Why? Because you had limited buttons.
you only had two options. You had kind of a soft punch, and you had a stronger punch. And that stronger punch was the one that would actually knock your opponent backwards a bit.
But it's very important because you have to protect your turf in important places like the snack bar and the discount shop.
The neighbors hate trouble. They drop flower pots on you while you're fighting. Or do they? Because when you win, they throw confetti at you.
You know, if you're taking too long on a screen, I love it when the police car drives by, and everyone just kind of puts their hands behind the back and turn around like nothing's going on.
And the fact that they keep re-releasing this, and even had a 3D version of the game released, is beyond me.
It's kind of a simple rock, paper, scissors type game. It's hard to say there's a lot of strategy to something like Urban Champ. You can high block and low block, you can high punch and low punch, and there's just not that much more to it. Very basic, but definitely an early predecessor to the fighting games that we all know and love today.
Hooray! Street violence! Rolling Thunder is an outstanding, excellent arcade game, one of my personal favorites.
In the game, you take control of a player named Albatross, who is essentially a secret agent whose mission is to save a captive female agent named Layla Blitz.
The main enemies in Rolling Thunder are hooded soldiers known as maskers.
And the different colors that they wore kind of marked the different types of maskers they were. Whether they were just going to walk towards you, whether they were going to shoot you with a pistol, throw a grenade, take extra damage.
Enemies included ninjas, mutated bats, panthers, lava men.
The game was a little tough because you only had a limited amount of hits you could take and you were dead, and it was always tough to dodge the little bullets that were flying at you, or even just dodging the maskers, which were coming at you from all directions.
You have to turn fire with precision, duck from shots, jump up and down between the two platforms at a moment's notice, and that's where the game really shined. There's this feeling of tenseness the entire time, and there's a feeling of you better get going.
You can enter doors to take cover from enemies, kind of like in elevator action, but there'd also be bullets in there and that kind of stuff. And you can also jump up and down levels.
You never get lost in the game. You always know what you're doing. The controls in this game are really what make it. It's simple, but everything is precise and responsive. Everything feels snappy.
Some of the ports for Rolling Thunder were known for being some of the worst conversions ever. Super slow, low frame rate, choppy, not good.
I was never quite as sold on the ports of it, but the arcade version is wonderful.
And now, the popular pinball games of 1986.
Ian here with popular pinball machines of 1986. High Speed by Williams. Hit the gas and escape the cops in this Steve Ritchie classic with the first ever multi-ball holdover jackpot. Pinbot by Williams. In this beautiful Python Angelo masterpiece, help a robot gain his vision and journey to the sun. Raven by Premier Gottlieb. The first photographic translite lured players to this average table with its Lady Rambo theme. And those were the popular pinball machines in 1986, because there's more to life than video games.
Double Dribble was released in the arcade by Konami in 1986, and it's notable because it's one of the first realistic-looking sports games that would come out.
Back in the day, it seemed like there was not an arcade across this fair country without a Double Dribble machine in it.
Double Dribble, which is something you don't want to do in basketball, is actually called Exciting Basket in Japan. I think it sounds better.
It had really cool animations that featured the players doing slam dunks, which was awesome.
It was interesting to see those kind of cutaways in the middle of an action gameplay.
I have to tell you who made the dunk somehow, but they put him in the game.
The character's skin tone would change from white to black, and back and forth. If you had them selected when it happened, it'd go back and forth from white to black, and it would be this weird strobe effect.
There's actually spots in the game where you could always make the shot.
The game was really learning about the sweet spots on the court. There were several hot spots where you could actually get more points and get your three-pointers in there.
There was some sort of weird non-physics world going on in Double Dribble, so if you jump from the bottom of the screen of three-point line, you can jump all the way, and in video game terms, that was only 2 feet, because you can just do a layup for a three-pointer.
The game is also notorious because it's the first video game to feature the United States national anthem in the game.
Why would you name a basketball game after an illegal move? It's like, I don't know, out of bounds, you know?
Why they should have called it
it's like penalty.
While the game was successful in the arcades, it got most of its notoriety with its release on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
It looked great. It was great for the time. It was fun. It was a fun Konami sports title. Good graphics, good sounds, and the great voice samples. I give Double Dribble 2 balls up. What?
Defender of the Crown was created by Kellen Beck, and it was the first release by Cinemaware.
The game is set in England in the Middle Ages, where different factions are fighting over territorial control.
Defender of the Crown was released in '86 for the Commodore Amiga, and it was a beautiful game.
And it floored people, because no one had ever really seen computer game graphics like this before.
This was Cinemaware's first game, and they ended up setting the new graphics standard for computer games.
Cinemaware was called Cinemaware for a reason. These were some of the first, true cinematic type games that you saw on a computer.
If not the first, one of the first in what has become kind of a staple of the PC gaming scene, and that is medieval, strategy.
You were trying to gain territories, amass armies.
There's just so much to it that you didn't see in other video games prior that were very straightforward in their focus.
In addition to strategic battles, you could also have jousting matches that looked really good.
Prior strategy games were strategy and fun. This had arcade-type sequences. This had strategy sequences.
Game designer Bob Lindstrom said the first time they saw it, they knew that the stakes had been raised.
There were certain things in Defender of the Crown that unfortunately never made it into the Amiga version, like flaming fireballs for the catapults and whatnot, that they did end up putting into the IBM-compatible versions. But those did not look nearly as nice as the Amiga versions did. But all around, all the versions are very playable.
Defender of the Crown is truly a gorgeous game for the time that I would never play.
Found its niche. It found its home in the PC realm, and here's where it begins.
My moderate to severe Crohn's symptoms kept me out of the picture. Now I have Skyrizi.
And now I'm back in the picture. Feel significant symptom relief at 4 weeks with Sky.
Side Pocket is interesting because it's really the first billiards video game.
Super Mario Brothers, no, that's not exciting. I want to play pool.
You had an overhead perspective, and you were basically looking at a pool table.
You're shooting balls in the pockets, and you have to put them in the proper order in order to get enough points to move on to the next round. Sounds easy, but it's tough, and they use pretty good geometry and physics in this game.
Side Pocket was really highly regarded as a realistic pool game that went above and beyond just a realistic pool game. It had all these other features and stuff about it.
You were able to see a guideline with a series of dots that would show you basically the geometry in which the ball would be traveling.
You choose the spin on the ball, you choose the power of the shot, and you aim the shot.
When you think of any kind of billiard simulation game, this is the game. And it was successful in the arcades because of that. You didn't see a lot of games like this.
Balloon Fight on the NES. Classic game. One of the original black box games.
A Joust clone, but it's better. Why? Because you are a dude with a fake beak and balloons strapped to your back.
You have to tap the buttons really quickly to get your guy to flap his arms so he can gain altitude.
And you can stomp on your enemies and clear the enemies on the screen, on that single screen.
die if you lose both your balloons, you get hit by lightning, like a ball of lightning bouncing around the screen.
And watch out for the fish, because of course he's going to come up and eat you whole.
Yes, that's what fish do.
Really tight play control, really pleasing, you know, physics to how you move through the air and how you floated.
An adorable take on a game that had already been done, but the new coat of paint really did make Balloon Fight, at least to me, something special.
Yeah, this is part of the Nintendofication of video games. It's cute and it's accessible and it's colorful and it's fun.
There was a second game on the cartridge that was a single-player game called Balloon Trip. And I actually like this one quite a bit.
It's just an obstacle course, and it's a test of your will and your sanity to get through this thing.
Balloon Trip is kind of one of the earliest examples of what's known as like an endless runner. You're constantly forced to scroll and just avoid obstacles.
The goal was essentially just to see how far you can get, but it's incredibly addicting, and actually the part of the game I always like the most.
Two-player simultaneous mode is really fun. On Balloon Fight, you can screw up your partner very easily because there's not a whole lot of room to be going on the level.
It's a test for real men. Real men who love balloons.
It's Balloon Fight. Balloon Fight is so much fun. I'm floating with helium.
Is this a musical now?
John D. presents the Video Game Babes of 1986.
This is John D. with the Video Game Babes of 1986. Lizzie the Lizard. Prehistoric Monster Babe. The Girl from Outrun. The babe that should probably be wearing a helmet. Samantha Fox from Samantha Fox Strip Poker on the Commodore 64. The British pop star babe. Don't play this game. Don't play it. Michelle Hart from Legendary Wings. The shooting winged babe. And Tubbs and Crockett from Miami Vice on the Commodore 64. The pastel dude babes. And those were the Video Game Babes of 1986. And I got a blank space, baby. And I'll write your name.
Life Force, or Salamander in Japan, is a vertical and horizontal scrolling shooter.
It was a spin-off to Gradius, or Gradius, however you want to say it.
You know, you don't just have your horizontal stages, you have your vertical stages, and it switches up, which is, you know, switching up is fun.
It turns everything on its head. Whereas Gradius is a space-based shooter, Life Force actually has you fighting through a number of living environments.
You're inside this giant alien life form. So there would be text at the beginning of the stage being like, entering like the stomach muscle area or something like that.
You have the same kind of shit from, you know, Gradius, the Vic Viper.
And player 2 controls Lord British.
I don't know if someone was a fan of the Ultima series, but well, it was Japan, so I'm sure there were fans of the Ultima series there at the time. The Lord British, or because of the wonky English that goes on, sometimes known as the Road British.
Needs to be played up front instead of far back. All of your important decisions in terms of paths that you take and things that you need to dodge are done a lot earlier than they are in most shooters, which is unique, and I still think it makes Life Force a fairly unique shooter. Hanging back and taking on the waves like you would even in its predecessor is going to do nothing but get you trapped or killed very quickly.
Life Force had some really cool bosses, like Brain Golem, which is a brain with an eye sticking out the front of it. That gave me freaking nightmares.
Thankfully, on the NES version of Life Force, you released a Konami code for 30 lives, or else no one would ever beat the damn game. So that's the only way I could beat it. But yeah, it's a fun shooter.
They continue to show Konami's relevance in the world of shmups and continue to move the genre forward.
Man, you know what I love? Simple, single-screen, top-down racing games. And Super Sprint is one of the purest and most fun.
You see the entire track, and you're essentially controlling your vehicle much like you would control any kind of radio-controlled car or RC car.
Super Sprint is one of those games that I have difficulty controlling, because the controls are relative to where the car is, just like an off-road RC Pro-Am and Resident Evil.
You go around the racetrack with the curves, pick up the wrenches so you can upgrade your vehicle, don't smash through the side. That's Super Sprint. That's what you do.
There were obstacles on the track like oil spills, of course, and tornadoes. Call the race off. This is a tornado. You don't drive around it.
It spawned a whole bunch of copycat games that added more, and while some of them were definitely great games, I really feel like Super Sprint just kind of nailed it on the first try.
Should have retired.
Yeah.
Retired the sprint, Super Sprint, that's it.
Go out at the top.
Space Quest! Space!
So that's Sierra, 1986. They're starting to get some appreciation. You know, they're starting to put out these King's Quest games, and they're getting popular.
At the time, Sierra was making serious medieval games, and Scott Murphy and Mark Crow wanted to make something fun.
They kind of came up with this idea for Space Quest, where you would play as a janitor.
Roger Wilco, space janitor, in space.
Roger Wilco campaigns through the galaxy for truth, justice, and really clean floors.
The iconic Roger Wilco character, humorously, wasn't ever really supposed to be his name. That was the default name that they put in when it asks you at the computer, what is your name? Roger Wilco Clyde. And most people left it, so with later versions of the game, it became the main character's name.
Roger Wilco is a loser underdog who saves the universe, sometimes accidentally, and gets punished for it. He's seriously an underdog.
You want to experiment and see the humorous ways that you can kill Roger.
Even if you were frustrated, even if you were getting killed multiple times, like I said earlier, the funny messages you would get upon death were sort of worth it.
When you're playing King's Quest, all you want to do is beat King's Quest. When you're playing Space Quest, yeah, you want to beat Space Quest, but you want to see all the other weird stuff that you can do just by experimentation.
It was one of the first games to be installable on the hard disk. It was one of the first games to have drop-down menus, which definitely made the whole puttering around and trying to do stuff a little more palatable.
The game became a quick success, and they sold over 100,000 copies.
This is the start of a very successful run for Sierra, a 6-game series, almost paralleling King's Quest, which it was, the engine it was based on. And then right before Larry Police Quest, basically the 4 Quest series. And I love Space Quest. It's my favorite, computer game series probably of all time.
It just continued to show that the adventure game genre could move past simply the medieval times and the Knights of King Arthur's court sort of setting, and actually move into the space realm as well, with some humor tied into it. $720! Skateboarding in the 80s was a huge thing, and Atari really jumped on board trying to gain some of that.
The joystick is interesting because most people don't know, it doesn't, it's almost like a crank. It doesn't, it rotates in a circle.
The name 720 comes from the trick of doing 2 full spins, 2 full turns.
You had to be awesome to do a 720.
It actually required really jamming that controller around.
You got to really take a jump off of one of the course ramps in order to do one of those moves.
There's a main map area where you choose which park you want to go to, and you have to have a certain number of points to get a ticket to go into the park.
There's slalom, downhill, ramp, and jump courses.
There's also shops that you go to buy different accessories like a helmet or something like that to make you better.
It's got a unique time structure that requires the player to keep accumulating points in order to keep the game going.
Not only are you timed during events, you're timed between events. And if you take too long before you get to the next event, killer bees. You get attacked by killer bees.
Just like real skateboarding.
Yeah, bees hate skateboarders. It's apparently general knowledge.
When your time started running low, there was a phrase that came across the screen that is very memorable in this game. It would say, "Skate or die!"
If that sounds familiar, that